My Lords, I'm very grateful to those who've spoken in this short debate. I have great sympathy with what the Noble Baroness Lady Grey Thompson said, as she knows, and we will support her in her continuing campaign, and that of the Noble Baroness Lady Brinton, the Noble Lord, my noble friend Lord Holmes of Richmond, in putting the case on behalf of disabled people for proper consideration in relation to public transport services. I was mildly tickled by the proposal from the Noble Baroness Lady Pinnock. One of my deep concerns that I've tried to express in as gentle a way as possible throughout this committee has been the adequacy and competence of local councillors to take on the role that is envisaged for them by this bill. I hadn't imagined that a Vice Chairman of the LGA should give such ringing endorsement to my concerns, to the point where she actually says that training should be mandated by statute for those who are going to be taking part in making those decisions. So we are at one on this in our concern. Nonetheless, I'm not entirely sure, here I'm going to sound a little bit like the Noble Lord the Minister, I suspect, that the idea of a statutory training programme, and I speak as a former local councillor, that a statutory training programme in this area would be appropriate. I think there is a false analogy with training for the exercise of planning and licensing functions, because those are almost invariably what are referred to as quasi-judicial functions that relate to particular individuals making applications that relate to their property or business or premises or whatever. And they need to be taken in an appropriate legal framework rather than a political framework. And it is appropriate that councillors are given a training in that legal background where they're called upon to make those decisions. The sort of decisions that are going to be made here are not in that category. And so I wonder if this particular approach is quite necessary. In fact, even if it were appropriate to have statutory training, I wouldn't have it, training in the provisions of this bill, which is what is called for in the amendment, but rather training of the sort that perhaps the Noble Lord Snape could provide, in training in how to run a bus company, and make hard, crunchy decisions that you will be confronted with about how to manage your resources in a way that maximizes your revenue while allowing you to provide as much, but not all, necessarily, of the socially important services that you would like to provide. And those are the hard, crunchy things that people will need to be trained in rather than understanding the legal background here provided by this bill. So in a way I'm delighted to find myself holding hands with the Noble Baroness Lady Pinnock on this topic, but I'm not sure I can support her quite with the wording of this amendment.